Welcome into another edition of the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com. Great Saturday of racing that we'll take a look at. I'm Tom Leach, along with Keeneland's Director of Simulcasting, Jim Goodman. And we're going to take a look at three grade ones at Saratoga that make up the first three legs of the late pick four. Got the West Virginia Derby at Mountaineer and the grade one Clement Hirsch at Del Mar. Before we get into handicapping, Jim, anything going on for Keeneland Simulcasting patrons that they need to be aware of?
We're this weekend is kind of the in-between after the big Haskell weekend and Jim Dandy last weekend, but, it's Whitney handicapped, and there's great racing all day on Saturday and the West Virginia Derby, so nothing as far as a Friday night special is concerned, but come out Friday night, bet on Del Mar. Del Mar has a 7 o'clock post, so we go to about 10:30, I think, on Friday night. And then all day Saturday, just great. The weather's been beautiful out on the patio. We got the big screens on out there, so it's a great weekend to come out for simulcasting because racing is good all day on Saturday.
Well, let's go to Saratoga for the Grade 1 Vanderbilt. 3-year-olds and up going 6 furlongs. It's their 8th race. We'll get to a late pick 4 once we go through the races here. But who do you like in the Vanderbilt?
I really like a horse really stepping up in class, but lightly raced. Bakken on the outside for Chad Brown has got the buyer progression that you love. It's 97, 96, 94, 100, and off of a 5.5 month layoff, came back at Belmont and won the True North. So got beat by 3/4 of the length at True North to Palace. When you look at those two, relatively speaking, I think Bakken has a lot more upside. So I'm going to take Bakken on top. Chad Brown's, a great trainer. He's 4 for 26 going into today's races at Saratoga, but he's 26% trainer. I think it's a great outside post, the eight hole, and I think he can track the speed and pounce on him in the lane. Happy Mile Way is the speed and probably is going to be the favorite off those triple-digit buyers. And Joe Bravo is on for Orseno, and I think he's going to be probably the favorite, but he may be a little bit vulnerable down the lane to Bakken, who gets the great trip from outside at 7 furlongs. And Palace fits off his performance in the True North. But Bakken is my choice in the 8th, the Alfred G. Vanderbilt at Saratoga.
That's who I went with, too. I thought being out in the 8 hole is in a good spot. I don't necessarily think he has to go wire to wire, so he could just be right there with the pace, but half a length off and get a good trip there. And I do like that he's 3 for 3 at 6 furlongs. And Bakken's the one I ended up going with as well. I'll use him with Bahamian Squall, who had a nice win up at Saratoga last year. Happy My Way, the 5, and Palace, the 1. But Bakken is going to be the key horse. 9th race, the Grade 1 Test Stakes. 3-year-old fillies going 7 furlongs. It's always a great betting race, and this year's no different. And I had several different options I looked at here. And I'm taking Tea Time because I think you may get a little value there. And looks like she's in career best form. Comes off a really sharp workout. And, again, drawn out there on the outside in a 7 furlong race is a good spot, I think. I looked hard at 50 Shades of Gold. Thought about taking her. The others I like are Sweet Reason and Sweet Whiskey coming out of the Belmont Day race. But I'm going to go with Tea Time in here. And really I think the bet beyond, if you want to play a win bet on her, would be a 4-horse exacta box, 2, 3, 7, 9 for me. What about you?
I went with Sweet Reason. I thought the last race, the Acorn, I think she's got a good shot at winning 2 Grade 1s in a row. And I think I said something about the last race of Vanderbilt being 7 furlongs. It was 6 furlongs. This one is 7. So I think it sets up well for her. Ortiz fits her like a glove. She's if you take out the Gazelle from the mile and 8, where she did want to go there in the spring, the Gazelle Aqueduct, she's been very consistent. Only got beat 2 lengths in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile last year. So I think Sweet Reason is a good bet on top. Sweet Whiskey is my second choice. The runner-up in Acorn to the choice, and is 1 for 1 at 7 furlongs at Saratoga. And Street Story is my kind of a long shot to get in there. The 6-horse woke up last time out and keeps Rosario. So Sweet Reason on top for me.
10th race, the Grade 1 Whitney at 1 mile and an 1/8 for 3-year-olds and up. Palace Malice would be the horse of the year, I think, if they had to vote today. He is going to face a strong field of 8 here. How did you see the Whitney shaking out?
Well, I tried to beat him, but I just can't do it. I kept going back to him, and my final comments on my notes was who's going to run second. So Palace Malice is 2 for 3 at Saratoga, 4 for 4 in 2014, and I think you're right. If he wins this race, he's got to be favored for Horse of the Year. Wise Dan hasn't been out, and California Chrome won the first 2 legs of Triple Crown, but Palace Malice is the best older horse in training. I think the race goes through him. It's My Lucky Day is probably my hunch choice. I think he's getting better for Ed Plessa. The Salvatore Mile puts him right there. He beat a couple horses, Bravestir and Valid, who came back and ran 1-2 this past weekend. So It's My Lucky Day is in great form, and if there's anybody that can upset Palace Malice, I think it's him. But Romance is the one that I kept looking at, and I wanted to pick him, and I didn't pick him because the last race was disappointing the Suburban. If he runs back to his Met Mile, he ran a length and a half behind Palace Malice and just behind Golden Sense, and he's run big in the past. So Romance would be my price play in here. Last Gunfighter maybe get a piece of the superfecta, but I couldn't get away from Palace Malice. It's My Lucky Day, and Romance would be my other choice.
Started to take Will Take Charge in here, and if he's maybe 3-1 or better, I probably would place a win bet on him because I thought the last 16th, 8th of a mile at Churchill last time was kind of a wake-up for him, and I think he just was a little over-raced and needed a break, so I think coming off this break is going to serve him well. He's training lights out, and he likes Saratoga. I think he might be better at even a little longer distance, and that's ultimately why I went another direction in here, and it's not really a win pick. It's Romance, the one you mentioned. If you look at Byers, he's got a couple that are in the neighborhood where he could contend with Palace Malice and Will Take Charge. I don't think anybody else has a number that could do that to beat them on their best day. And I think one or the other of them is probably going to win this. But I'm going to play my play for this is rather than any kind of win bet is just Romance with Will Take Charge in an exacta box and then box him with Palace Malice and hope he gets the right run and gets there first, and if not, hopefully gets second at a price. And I think if he can split the favorites, could be a nice exacta there. The 11th race is the Lure, which wraps up the late pick 4. So let's take a look at a pick 4 ticket that we would play on the late pick 4 with those 3 grade 1s at Saratoga starting in race 8. What's your ticket look like?
Yeah, in race 8, I would use Palace and Falling Sky, the 1, 2, and then the 5, Happy My Way, and the 8 horse, my top choice, Bakken, but I would go 4 deep in a pick 4. In the second leg, the test, I would go 1, 3, 5, 6, 7. I would use Princess Violet, Sweet Whiskey, Southern Honey, Street Story, and Sweet Reason. I would single Palace Malice, the 5 in the third leg, and I would use Big Blue Kitten, Villandry, and Carafa in the last leg, the 4, 8, and 12 in the Lure. So I think that's a $30 ticket, 4 by 5 by single by 3.
The ticket I came up with is a little pricey. For 50 cents, it would be $54. It's Bakken, Happy My Way, and Bahamian Squall in the first leg. The test, I'm going to use the 4 horses I put in the exacta box: Tea Time, Sweet Reason, 50 Shades of Gold, and Sweet Whiskey. 10th race, I'm going to use Will Take Charge, Palace Malice, and Romance. And then Bio Pro, I kind of liked in the last race, and I'll use Big Blue Kitten off that layoff, and Swift Warrior just because he's won before at Saratoga, and sometimes that's a good precursor of coming back and getting another one. So that's a little bit of a pricey ticket. If you want to take, you could take a stand with Palace Malice in there and drastically reduce the price of the ticket, single somebody. I just didn't feel confident enough to single anybody in there, so it ends up being a little bit heftier ticket for me. And it's not one that, playing a pick 4, I'd like to find one horse I could single to actually come up with a play I feel strongly about. And I think if you feel strongly about one of those I mentioned, then maybe you can do that, but I couldn't. Mountaineers got the Grade 2 West Virginia Derby at 1 1/8 for 3-year-olds. I thought the fact that it's 1 1/8 might give Divine View a chance here at a little bit of a price. The 7, improving horse, bred to like 1 1/8, and he's 10-1. And Tapiture, Vickers in Trouble, Candy Boy, I'm not sure any of them are any better. I don't know if they improve from 1 1/16 to 1 1/8, and they might all regress a little bit. So I think there's a chance that a horse like Divine View of pedigree could get up there in the top 2. So I'm going to key Divine View with those other 3 in exactas. What about you?
Well, you never know a horse that comes from the West Coast whether he's going to like the Mountaineer track or not, and there's always a chance of weather up there. So you got to couch anything you say with that caveat. But I think Candy Boy, if you look at his last 5 races, the winners of his last 5 races are Shared Belief, California Chrome, Candy Boy, and Shared Belief. That ain't bad.
No, it's not.
If you look at the rest of this field, there's nobody that comes. Tapestry has run, obviously, in the Arkansas Derby, the Grade 1, and Kentucky Derby, but he wasn't really close. And he ran well in that win last out. So I think with Rosie up, I think Tapestry's got a good shot. But Candy Boy's back class, if he likes the track, I think he's a standout here. And Shared Belief beat him by 4 1/4. What would Shared Belief be if he was in here, 1-20?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think Candy Boy, if you get 2-1 on Candy Boy, because there are people going to play Tapestry and Vickers in trouble. But I would take those two beneath Candy Boy and hope something runs along in the 3rd and 4th spots in the try and 2.
Last race we'll look at is the Grade 1 Clement Hirsch at Del Mar. Fillies and Mares 3 end up going a mile and a 16th. I think Iotapa will certainly be a big favorite in here. Can you beat her?
I think it's a 2-horse race here. Iotapa is obviously the class of the race, and it looks like when John Sadler looked at the entries for this race, they thought, I got a 109 last time out. That worries me a little bit. Coming for the Humana staff and really didn't run very well. She didn't run well at all at Churchill, but came back to Santa Anita and won the Vanity by 10 1/4. So from a number standpoint, she's a standout. I took Paranda with her. I'm just going to do a 2-6 exacta box. And Jerry Hollendorfer is always good out there, and Paranda woke up last time out and ran well in the game league 2 back. So I think when you look at the Grade 1 performance in the game league at Santa Anita on the turf, the question mark here is Polly. So I don't know how Paranda will take the Polly. I think Iotapa is going to be a favorite. I would give Paranda a shot, so I'm going to do a 2-6 exacta box.
Paranda's who I ended up taking a shot with, too, to beat the favorite. I think there's a good chance she'll like the synthetic coming in off of those turf races. Looking at her pedigree, and you got Broken Sword in here. Who's got a lot of speed. Could press Iotapa, and I'm not sure I trust that 109 for Iotapa. It's a whole lot better than anything she'd done before. I mean, she's very good, but I don't know if she's quite as good as that number suggests. So I think at the price she'll be off that number, I'm going to try to beat her with Paranda, and so I'll box Paranda and Iotapa just like you, and then maybe do another one with Paranda and Broken Sword just as a backup. But Paranda's the one for me. So great day of racing. It's 4 Grade 1s that we've talked about here on the podcast. Next week, more great racing. In 2 weeks, you've got Arlington Million weekend. The week after that, it's Travers weekend and Pacific Classic. So just a great time of year to be a racing fan. And make sure you keep your Keeneland Select accounts funded so you have a chance to play if you can't get out to Keeneland for simulcasting. For Jim Goodman, I'm Tom Leach. This is the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com.